Hey guys, I want to recap tonight's game. Obviously, let's get to it. So the Warriors just blew off the Lakers off the court. I mean, they just totally blew them out. And you know, I feel like I'm a little bit regretful because I after game one, I made a video and I talked about how I think the Lakers are going to win in 6 games. And one of the dangers of reacting game by game like I did is um, you can overreact to one game. And the game one is the feel out game, and it's the least determinant game of a series. I think game three, whoever wins game three will probably win this series. One of the reasons for that is we're going to see how good, if the Warriors can take this show on the road, right? They played tremendously well today. But again, the Lakers, they have one good game and they have one bad game, one good game, one bad game. And one of the big reasons for that is um, they can't, with one day in between, they can't sustain the same type of intensity that they did in game one. And tonight, I'm going to talk a little bit about the X's and O's, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the matchups and the key reasons why the Warriors won. But I would say the predominant reason was the Lakers just didn't have that intensity. They didn't have that energy. I think they did in the first half, but once the second half came along, and they saw that the Warriors built a little bit of a lead, they completely lifted their foot off the gas pedal because they just didn't have the reservoir of energy that they need to sustain for 48 minutes. And because again, this series is gonna, and this is the key I think to this series, and this is why I'm again now I'm gonna flip flop again, and I want to say it's Golden State's gonna win, but there's only one game in between. There's only one day's rest in between, and the Warriors are gonna push the pace, and that's gonna be difficult for LeBron James at 38, and it's going to be very difficult for Anthony Davis because even though Anthony Davis, I think he's only 29, he's a big guy, and it's going to be tough for him to run up and down the court and keep challenging shots at the rim. Um, so that's going to be tough for the Lakers. Obviously the guy who had the big game for the Warriors. I mean, there was two guys. I mean, obviously Steph and Clay. Clay was absolutely on fire. He was left wide open by the Lakers because they were so focused on Steph. The other guy was JaMychal Green, who was left wide open again because they're so focused on Steph. Steph, in less than, I think, 30 minutes, had 12 assists. The Warriors as a whole had a lot of assists. But again, there's a lot of other hustle stats like rebounds, There wasn't a free throw disparity tonight like there was in game one. The Lakers didn't have all these block shots in the paint. And mostly because they had to cover the Warriors more out on the perimeter, which spreads things out and opens up the paint. And we've seen this countless times when the Warriors play bigger teams. This is what they tend to do. So, going forward, how much does this game two mean? It's tough. Like I said, I think game three will be the deciding factor in the series because we're going to find out if tonight was the fact that the Warriors are just too skilled. Once they push the pace like they did tonight, the Lakers aren't going to be able to keep up, and it's going to be a blowout. Or at least, the Warriors are going to end up winning. And the crazy thing is the Lakers shot the three ball well. I mean, LeBron James was on fire in the first half, and it didn't matter because the Lakers have got to be extremely physical and impose their size on the Warriors, and they didn't do that. I mean, the Warriors had more, like I said, very little free throws. They had more points in the paint. The rebounding, they didn't have an edge in that. The block shots, they didn't have an edge in that. The free throws, they didn't have an edge in that. The field goal percentage, the Warriors shot the three ball well in game one, but they didn't get anything in the paint. They didn't get any easy shots inside the 3-point arc. Tonight, complete opposite. They had a very high percentage in threes and twos. So if that happens, even I mean, obviously it's not going to happen at this magnitude, but even if it's close to what we saw tonight, or the disparity isn't as big as we saw in game one, the Warriors are going to win because you saw the first game was a close game. The second game was a blowout. But again, it's important not to take too much from this game, just like you don't take too much from game one, because the Lakers' intensity varies from game to game. And the way the Lakers see it is we got one on the road, we got home court advantage. Now we're going back to the Staples Center, we're good. And you clearly saw that tonight. The Lakers are like, we're good. They just did not bring that intensity. So overanalyzing this game and saying, the Warriors did this and the Warriors did that, it's kind of tough to do. Now, a few things that I thought were big adjustments the Warriors made. First of all, they benched Kevon Looney so that they had more spread and they put JaMychal Green. I think that's huge because and then the other adjustments they made, which ties into that, is they put Steph and even Clay and other guys. They put even more pick and rolls with everybody. Even Jordan Poole, everybody was more involved in pick and rolls. What that does is that forces Anthony Davis to come out of the paint, and that forces Anthony Davis to run a lot because he's got to run to the shooter, and then if the guy drives, he's got to come back because he's their main shot blocker. And also Jared Vanderbilt. I mean, he is, and Schroeder. They are absolutely being run into the ground by the Lakers. I mean, the efforts they're putting in trying to chase the Warrior defenders is out of this world. So I don't think they can keep this up all series, even though they're not old players. They're very young, but there's a limit to that. I mean, you can only run with that intensity for so long. Eventually, usually technicality overwhelms physicality over the length of a series like this. Now, if you got a lot of physicality and it's spread between many different guys, then it can work. But just the Lakers don't have enough perimeter defender because D'Angelo Russell is not a very good perimeter defender. Reeves is okay, but the main two they have is Vanderbilt and Schroeder, and those two guys, I mean, I don't know what they're like, how many miles they're running every game, but it is up there. And Anthony Davis is having to run a lot, and LeBron James, is having to. So I don't know if the Lakers can keep up with the Warriors. So that's going to have to be a key thing to watch. So again, the main adjustment, I thought the main adjustment the Warriors made, more pick and rolls. And every time they got the ball, they pushed the ball, they got in pick and rolls. So that's going to force the Lakers to have to run a lot more. And they were already tired after game one. And after today, in the second half, you saw, I mean, obviously it just could have been the Lakers lifting their foot off the gas, but they looked exhausted to me. And then obviously adding a shooter in JaMychal Green, that was the adjustments, because when you have a pick and roll and you drive, it's 4-on-3, the odd man's open, and they hit JaMychal Green. And Klay Thompson got wide open looks too coming off pick and rolls. So, and off screen. So that's one big adjustment. And then on defense, the big adjustment that I saw was Draymond Green on Anthony Davis. I mean, Anthony Davis wanted absolutely no part of Draymond Green. And if you're a Warriors fan, which, I have a small bias for the Warriors, but that was encouraging to see that, like I said, I mean, Anthony Davis wanted no part of Draymond Green. So we're going to see if this keeps going in game 3, but that was very interesting for me to see tonight. I mean, I felt like Anthony Davis could get nothing going. So, again, I explained why Draymond is a better matchup against Anthony Davis than Kevon Looney. It's true that Kevon Looney is stronger and he's taller, but he's not quick enough. I mean, I'm not going to say he's not quick enough, but so far he hasn't shown the ability to stay in front of Anthony Davis and force him to fade and challenge those jump shots to an extent that makes Anthony Davis a little bit under duress when he's shooting, right? Draymond's a complete different animal. He's 6'6", 6'7", and the key with Draymond is not only will he keep Anthony Davis away from the rim because he's very strong, because he's big, he's a big dude, but also one of the most underrated aspects of why Draymond is such a good defender is that he has very, very long arms. So even though he's only 6'6", 6'7", and people are saying, you could shoot over him. Sure, you can shoot over him, but he will put a hand in your face, because his arms are so long. So, and you saw that with Anthony Davis. So that, yeah, he's not gonna block Anthony Davis' jump shot, but he's gonna make it just difficult enough that it's gonna make that small. It's gonna challenge Anthony Davis. He's not gonna have a clear sight at the rim, and he's gonna miss. And I think. It just puts Anthony Davis out of his comfort zone. So those are the main two things I saw tonight. And you saw Stephen Curry was much more of a facilitator. The Lakers are primarily focusing on shutting down Stephen Curry. So if those other guys get off, I mean, this series is over. Um, even Wiggins played well. I mean, everybody played well. Everybody got involved. And that's usually the case at home. The question is going forward, and we're going to find out in Game 3, is can the Warriors take this um, on the road? And if they win Game 3 as convincingly as tonight, or even just by 10 points, 5 points, something like that, where it just shows that their style is traveling on the road, I mean, this series is over. So that's going to be the key in Game 3. I think Game 3 is a must-win for the Lakers. Must-win for the Lakers. So I'm going to end this video on this because I think getting into more of the individual performances, beside mentioning how Klay Thompson was deadly from three-pointers. LeBron was really good in the first half, but again, he is so streaky as a three-point shooter. He needs to do more of the, posting up. He needs to, because the thing is, he's being guarded by Andrew Wiggins. He needs to take Andrew Wiggins in the block. I think that's really, really important that he takes Andrew Wiggins in the block, because Andrew Wiggins is long and he can challenge his shot. But what Andrew Wiggins is he isn't even close to 250 pounds. He's very skinny built. I think LeBron can put some weight on him and then get that easy fadeaway in the paint or get to the bucket. I think those are things that LeBron needs to do more, is just get to the rim, get inside. And the question is how healthy is LeBron and how big of his engine is, because getting to the rim is pretty tiring for a guy who's 38. So he can't do this 48 minutes for sure, but can he do it enough that it really throws off the Warriors? And same thing with Anthony Davis. He's gonna have to, the good thing about Anthony Davis is having Draymond Green guard him. The good thing for the Lakers is that it can open other guys up, right? Because Draymond is one of the best defenders, and when he's free roaming, it creates chaos. But now that he's got to be focused and locked in on Anthony Davis, the other role players, the Rui Hachimura, the Vanderbilts, the D'Angelo Russell, he was pretty effective tonight. The Austin Reeves, those guys have got to have a field day getting to the rim, because there's not really any. I mean, there's Wiggins, there's Klay Thompson, and the Warriors have a lot of really good defenders, but they have a lot of bad defenders with Curry and Jordan Poole. With those guys, you can penetrate and get to the rim, and we saw that in Game 1. So that's got to be the focus for the Lakers. The Lakers have got to find a way to get to the rim, and if Anthony Davis is being guarded by Draymond, that's a tough matchup. The Austin Reeves, all those other guys I mentioned, LeBron James, they got to exploit that. They got to exploit Draymond being out of the paint, because the thing that people got to understand about keeping guys out of the paint and why the Warriors have been successful, and I was surprised how bad they were in Game 1. It's not just about blocking shots, right? It's not just about blocking shots. It's about, are you able to stay in front of your man and put a hand up, right? If you can do that, you're going to make it difficult. It doesn't, Anthony Davis had 4 blocks in Game 1, but, it's not just about the blocks. It's about how much can you alternate shots in the paint. And so tonight I thought the Warriors did a better job of that, and we'll see. The Lakers have got to find a way to get in the paint. So that's going to be the key. With Draymond on Anthony Davis, the other guys are going to have to exploit those other mismatches to get to the rim. And lastly, I'll just throw this nugget out there. One of the debates is that we're seeing is such as different in styles, and when we saw in Game 1 from Anthony Davis, right? If people are wondering why a guy like Tim Duncan is highly revered, for example, in NBA history, because that's what you get from Tim Duncan. You get Game 1 performances like that consistently. In the playoff, Tim Duncan was a 27-point guy, 15 rebounds, and multiple block shots. And forget the block shots, but he would just change shots at the rim. Nothing could get in it. Not only that, but Tim Duncan was great at staying out of foul trouble. So that's the impact a guy like that can have. And so when Anthony Davis is on like he was in Game 1, that's huge. Tonight, it was more difficult. And in Game 3, we're going to find out, right? What we're going to find out is between those, era styles of basketball, when the new style of basketball, pick and roll, high pick and roll, forces the big man out of the paint, can he still be a factor at the rim, in the paint? And that's the big controversy, because modern basketball says no. They say that, if you bring the big guy out of the lane, you're going to be trading threes for twos, right? Because the big guy is not going to be able to get out on the shooter and cover the paint at the same time. But we saw in game one, once if you get pretty physical and you slow down that pick and roll, although the Warriors didn't run as much pick and roll, so that's the debate. But if you're able to do this, if you're able to, if the big guy is still able to protect the paint and be a factor in the paint, um, and impose his will like Anthony Davis did in game one, that 90 style of basketball is extremely effective, extremely effective. So that's going to be the key in this series. We're gonna find that out. And when the Lakers won the championship in the bubble, they were a very big team. They played a lot of time. They played JaVale McGee. They played Dwight Howard. They had LeBron James. They played Anthony Davis mostly at the four. So you need to have good 3-point shooters, but you don't need to spread out guys as much, right? You don't need to have as many shooters on the floor if you can get inside and impose your will and block off that paint. All right, so I'm gonna end it there. All right, bye guys, and I'm just really excited about this series, and yeah, really enjoy it, soak it all in, because I feel like this is like an NBA Finals before the NBA Finals.